Hi, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to our Thursday evening get together. A warm welcome to you wherever you're listening to this on. Appreciate your time, and we've got a lot of stuff to sort out. And I want to start off by saying, actually, the last quarter week, 2 weeks or so, I've had a lot of pressures on my time, so not being able to do as much live stuff as I would have preferred. But that'll all resolve itself. And I suppose look upon it as you've had a slightly enforced break from me warbling on so much in the podcast. Having said that, Substacks have all gone out. They're all there. So I hope you have enjoyed those as well. Here's the thing. Actually, maybe starting this one. As you know me, I'm random. Probably the biggest Substack I've done in the past week or so was on King Charles, and I was just basically questioning the whole basis of King Charles because, as you know, he's supposed to be the defender of faith, and then the palace slipped out. I don't know if you saw this a week or so ago. That we're updating that. That's too old. That's too 16th century. He's now going to be defender of all faiths, which means he's defender of no faiths. Yeah, King Charles the Great betrayer. Now I was very impressed. A lot of people commented on that one there, and so actually maybe we'll just start there. My view is that Charles is the great pretender. He's not fit to be monarch. I think he's very disappointing. And it's all in the article. Go and check out the article if you haven't. Hi, Nicole. Good to see you. Hi, Joe Cool. Good to see you. Hi, Dilligaff. Great to see you all there, folks. What do you think, guys, then? Who wants to jump in on King Charles? Is he the great betrayer?
Oh, you're waiting for something. I think he is, David. As I was unmuted at the time, I think he is. And it's a shame. It is a real shame that we are where we are with, and it is the woke mind virus that's got us to this point. His mother, God rest her soul, wouldn't have even dreamed of it. She would have sent out the Easter message. She may or may not have sent out the other messages for the other religious festivals, but she certainly would have sent out one for Easter.
Yeah.
I just think it is a betrayal. It is a betrayal of everything that we know, everything that the monarch should stand for.
I'll tell you, Jed, there's a guy we're going to have on with us. One of
these. Is Elvis?
No, there's a guy. Right. There's a guy, Ben Jones, works for the Free Speech Union. I met him several weeks back in Belfast. He's written a great book. And in that book, Jed, one of the things he's mentioned is actually on the subject of King Charles. And he was saying that when Her Majesty died, late Queen Elizabeth died, the palace kind of then decided to put all their bets in on this, all cultures are equal, multiculturalism, we are a country of multiple communities, all of this stuff. And I got that. He is the exemplar of that. He stands for everything and he stands for nothing. At least that's what I think. Adrian,
I tend to agree. Yeah, you can't stand for everything because in the end you will stand for nothing. You're right.
Correct. That's it, Chad. Yeah.
You got to take a side. You got to take a stand.
But Adrian, what do you reckon of Charles? As I say, I wanted to get opinions on. Do you agree that he is unfit to be on the throne?
Yeah, I think the man's a disgrace, to be brutally honest. Let's not forget, laws were changed many years ago to suit Charles. Remember that it was okay now for him to marry a divorcee.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, this was changed years ago, so this isn't the first time Charles has suddenly changed something in his benefit. There's a history of him doing this, and it's the fact that, to me, he's just treating the country with contempt by doing this, doing away with hundreds of years worth of tradition. One of his own relatives actually had to abdicate because he wanted to marry a divorcee at the time, and it wasn't allowed.
That's right. Yeah, you're right.
We've just changed the rules to suit sausage fingers himself. And here's another one. When was Henry VIII? 1538, something, give or take.
Yeah, before my time, Adrian.
Yeah, yeah. So approximately 500 years, the monarch has held the title Defender of the Faith.
The faith, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, that's now up in smoke as well because we have to bend over to accommodate this man.
Yeah.
And I would have been a staunch royalist back in the day, to be brutally honest, but I absolutely detest this man.
Well, actually, before I come to Grantonio, I'll just give you a quick story. As some of you know, I was over in London last week in the heat wave, and I was at Lord's Cricket Ground, and England was playing the West Indies, right? And so, like all these big sporting events, before it commences, they play the national anthem, and so they played obviously "God Save the King." And I got to be honest, I mean, I stood up to show respect, but I couldn't sing a word of it. Adrian, I'm kind of was royalist as well, but I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. I'll just be honest. I could not sing God's King. I couldn't.
Why, if Charles is such an honourable man, why didn't he do what his uncle done and abdicate so he could marry the love of his life? Because you put country, what is it, duty before yourself? Isn't that what the Queen always believed?
Yeah.
Duty first. So it's either you want to be king and do it by the book and you abdicate, but no, he's had the rules changed just so he can fulfill his lifelong dream, I suppose.
Grantonio, welcome. Good to speak to you as well. What are you make of Charles King Sausage Fingers?
So that was my joke, David. You beat me to it. Let's say, Adrian, you shouldn't call him Sausage Fingers. That's King Sausage Fingers. Hopefully, we can come out with some more bangers. Good one. Yeah. Very good.
Yeah.
What's he done this week that he hasn't done? Because I remember a long time ago, he said he wanted to be Defender of Faith. And there was an important semantics distinction between saying he wanted to be Defender of Faith and not Defender of the Faith. So what's he done recently that's so different to what he did? Well,
it was quite sneaky what he did, actually. Everyone may have seen that about 2 weeks ago, I think, there was a big song and dance made about the fact he'd released his income tax, the amounts of money that he'd paid for the first time, first monarch to have done that, certainly in recent history. But within that document, it wasn't just about the amount of tax. There were other statements made. And one of those statements was that essentially King Charles sees himself as the protector of multiple faiths in the UK.
Right. So it's been enshrined in law. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, it's not really. It's more, this is how he sees himself.
Enshrined in law constitutionally.
Constitutionally, the title was given, and as Adrian said, back at the time of Henry VIII, before my time, Antonio, slightly, that it was Defender of Faith, Defender of the Faith, the Christian faith. And we live in this multi-ethnic mess, this hellscape, I think, in the UK. And the king, who's supposed to be above it all, can't even bring himself to say, well, yeah, I'm the defender of the faith. I'm the governor of the Church of England. Do you know what I mean? They can't say that.
It's pity he's not defender of the country, isn't it?
Well, we don't have any.
Quite.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing's an anachronism anyway. I mean, I used to be a monarchist, but I've sort of become a Republican in the past year or two, and it's partly because of King Sausage Fingers as well. This is a generational thing. Queen Elizabeth II, God bless her, as Jed said, what kind of life did she have when her children were born and grew up? I mean, what an embarrassment to her. And being serious though, in terms of King Charles and the way and what happened between him and Diana and what happened with Andrew. Imagine what torment her favorite son put her through, and then all the other stuff with the grandchildren as well, with Harry and William. But I mean, we don't need this.
So hang on. So would you
go on? Carry on, David.
Would you prefer President Burnham?
You can vote Burnham out. You can vote Burnham. Would I prefer? Right, but then you could say, well, you've got President Trump. No, it's a good point you make, actually. But the idea is that the monarch is the head of state, and we don't worship the Prime Minister. Worship's the wrong word. We don't bow.
Yeah,
Freudian slip.
right.
We don't
Yes,
bow to the Prime Minister, and that's not a bad system. I just wish they weren't so embarrassing. But
I agree. Yeah,
there is something quite. I know in conspiracy circles they love to talk about this. King Sausage Fingers and what he actually believes in.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I know that there's a conspiracy theory that he's a Muslim. I've heard ones that he's a Satanist. I mean, you remember that painting that was done?
Very demonic. Very demonic.
Very interesting. Very. I mean, who knows what's going on in King Sausage Fingers' head? Probably not a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I think survival is the main thing. I think the problem with British monarchy is it's all about itself and surviving, so, and they're pretty good at that, to be honest. If you think about how the so-called House of Windsor came out of the Saxe-Coburgs. So, I mean, they were Germans, came here after World War I. It wasn't convenient to be called that, so they changed it to Windsors. They've shown an ability to, metamorphosize into something different. And now they've metamorphized into,
Shape-shifting.
In interesting ways. Yeah, I know all the conspiracy theories, obviously, but it's just interesting. Anyway, listen, don't want to go on about him all night.
Very quickly, isn't King Charles's religion eco-zealotry? Isn't that his thing?
I think it has been for a long time. I mean, he was, I would say, this might sound controversial, I think he was groomed by David Attenborough. Along with actually Prince William. They've been groomed by Attenborough into the faith of the Green Zealotry, as far as I can see. And if you check back, Attenborough stayed very close to mind you, of course, Charles was friendly with other renowned figures such as Jimmy Savile, for example. So interesting pedigree there, but I suppose we don't have time to go into that. So here, I'll tell you what I thought we'd kick off with. Because this is really, I'd get your views on this. I just saw there about 2 hours ago over on social media, the ludicrous Letha Nandy. Letha Nandy, the media secretary. She announced there in a real huffy post that her and her department were leaving X because it's full of misinformation, and she just can't be on it anymore, right?
It's also anti-free speech, and that's why she's blocked the comments.
Of course, yeah.
Can't stole my line there, Grant.
Yeah.
Adrian. Sorry.
Did you see that story about her flouncing off, and not just her whole department? And apparently, or not.
Well, I'm glad she told us. I mean, I'd be devastated if the days went on and I didn't know. It's good that she told us. I'm glad she announced that. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, because you'd be waiting there, wouldn't you, thinking, oh, it's gone 12 o'clock, and Letha hasn't actually posted anything yet. And then you're going to discover, well, the days go by and she never posts.
What's that one where they go to Blue Sky, but they come back 10 minutes later when they're
not
they do. Dopamine hits?
They do that as well, yeah. Adrian, did you see about Letha Nandy?
I did, and unfortunately she had the comments turned off because, misinformation and all that, Like, do you see, to be honest, if I was Elon Musk, I would just ban all their accounts because they're on blaming him for everything in his dog. Anything that goes wrong, it's Elon Musk, Tommy Robinson's fault, Yep. And they're the ones that use that platform to spread misinformation. The reality is now Elon Musk has allowed people the chance to fight back without being censored. Because if you had countered something that Lisa said maybe 3-4 years ago before Elon owned X, you'd have been banned pretty quick. But now you have the chance to counter them, and this is what they don't like. And they're being owned every time they put a comment on. People are countering it with the truth. And this is why she's leaving. It's nothing else. It's not to do with misinformation or hate. It's the fact that they cannot spread their misinformation, and they don't like it.
It's doublethink, yes. Without X, I mean, the grooming inquiry might not have happened. Without X, somebody else posted this on X earlier. The footage of masked, armed Muslim gangs during the Southport riots, no one would have seen that. No one would have seen the footage of people saying, leave your weapons in the mosque. X has been an incredible platform for free speech and for spreading information, not
But
disinformation.
you're right. But I'll tell you, as Northern Monkey says, yeah, they've been community noted into oblivion. I think Stormer holds the record for community notes. Insofar as you guys are so right in what you're saying. On X, you can actually take whatever they've said, check it, and if it's wrong, you can come back at them. And they hate that, Jed. They hate the fact that you, me, Antonio, Adrian, anybody can actually go back at them. Hi, Paddy, by the way. A warm welcome to you, my friend. But Jed, I put it to you that Lisa and Andy, she's just an absolute moral card. And like the rest of them, like Sadiq Khan, who put out a post earlier today, again saying something along the lines of, I have to say it. There's so much racism directed towards the English football team. I have to say it. And of course, comments off. So we're not allowed to respond to him. I don't know why Elon Musk allows him on the platform, but I suppose free speech is free speech. Jed.
Yeah, I suppose I've met Lisa Nandy, unfortunately, during the Brexit debate in Manchester.
Yeah.
And she's very obnoxious. Very obnoxious. So it doesn't surprise me that she would come out with a comment and then turn off comments on a post one little bit, because she can't take feedback, as I proved to in this meeting in Manchester over the Brexit debate. And I just give her facts, and then she was completely lost. So the thing is, if the information you're pouring out there is accurate and true, as best of your knowledge, then you shouldn't have to turn your comments off, because it should stand its test of time. And as been stated already, I think Grantonio said it, that Keir Starmer's had the most community notices. I think the Labour Party as a whole must have. And, they say, well, why does he allow him on the platform? I think if they keep curtailing his platform, I think he should take them all off, every single one of them, every single MP, actually.
Well, like, would Jed, would we miss it?
Well, hang on, Paddy. The reason I say that is they're trying to shut his platform down. So why allow those that want to shut it down on it? If you see what I mean.
Right. Paddy, I'm going to bring you in, but just before I bring you in, just point of information you might find interesting. Lisa Nandy's father is a Marxist academic and race relations expert.
There's a shock.
Yeah, and his mother is a social worker and television producer who worked for Granada Television. Just a wee bit of background. Paddy, welcome to the show. And we're just talking about the media secretary in for the UK, who's determined that a couple of hours ago, she's leaving Twitter, or X, too much misinformation. It's a hateful platform, apparently.
They can't stand the heat. See, this is the whole thing. Especially there's not a government in the world that does not hate Elon Musk, and it's because Elon Musk has done one thing that they've all tried to do, and that's shut up the people. Now you're going to get information that's not right. You get information that's right. But see, it gives you the chance for everybody to say what they want to say, and if it's crap, you feed it back to them. And if it's not crap, it'll stand on its own. And Europe is the most hateful place. They do not want you people to talk at all.
Right, Paddy, yeah.
That's true, Paddy. But the bottom line is, if we want to talk crap, we should be allowed to talk crap. But what we don't have is the 700 million guns to say we can talk crap.
And see, that's why you've got the situation in your country right now that we haven't built to yet, because they haven't figured out how to disarm us, to subjugate us with the immigration. They tried, but it's not working.
Does somebody want to say something? Sorry.
No, you're grand. I was just going to say quickly, the one thing that really, really pisses them off, Elon's too rich and too powerful, and they can't cancel him. And his platform is too big and too powerful, and they can't destroy it. And this is what really gets to them.
And in terms of power, I have a theory. I've got two theories about Greta. and I'm going somewhere with this. Number one, and I'm being serious, I have a theory. I think she's transitioning.
To human? Because she's not quite there yet. Don't carry on. Sorry.
No, I do genuinely think she's. If you look at photographs of her, I do wonder if she's having like injections of, I don't know, testosterone or whatever. Number two, I think she's given up
Heroin.
Heroin, yeah. No. She's going the other way. I wonder if she's given up all the eco-zealotry stuff and transferred that to all the Palestine stuff, because she knows that the game's up on that. She knows that with the likes of community notes and with X and people pointing out the sheer absurdity of the idea that the world's melting and all the rest of it, that it's the sensible career move to move on to Palestine and free Palestine. Do you see the point I'm making? But that I'm talking about X essentially and what X is doing. I mean, the Earth is melting. The UK is melting, as we know, as you found out when you were in London, and I'm glad you survived. But I've noticed something. Every time they used to show the images of the weather reports from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and they'd be like in yellow or whatever, and then it was red. But if you notice recently, the hotter parts of the UK are now black. They've started using black as the color of the way that the country's going. So there you go. That's the power of it.
Not to upset the minority groups within those areas, Antonio. That's why they chose black.
Yeah, we can't be racist. We must.
No.
It's important.
Well, putting black up is racist. What are you talking about?
We're going back to black.
Grantonio, do you think Greta is transitioning to become Grant Thunberg? Do you think that could be a possibility?
I've always said we need more grants. Grants are a good thing.
Yeah, well, listen, when you with Labour in power, I dare say there'll be a lot.
Yeah, they'll be splashing out grants. Yeah, 100%.
Right. Okay. I want to move it on. Actually, Grantonio, onto something, or was it either you or Adrian mentioned it to me last week, and initially I didn't get it, but it was. I want to talk about Citizen Vigilante. I want to talk about that.
The greatest film ever made.
Yeah. Well, you.
Oh,
I think
my God.
No, hang on, Paddy. You'll get your set. Don't worry about it. I'm going to get to you. But I didn't know much about it initially, other than I started to see noise about it. I think it was you, Antonio, mentioned it to me. So naturally, what I did, I went away and I watched it a couple of nights ago, and I thought it was really good. I thought it was a feel-good movie.
Oscars abound. Best cinematography, best screenplay, best acting. Yeah, it was a feel-good film, all right. But you know the other thing about when people are saying, "Oh, do you like it?" and everybody's like, "Oh, it's actually not a very good film, but the sentiment's good." Well, you know, Armie Hammer and Uwe Boll or whatever who have made it.
Yeah.
You know, they're not pretending. They're not pretending that this is a Stanley Kubrick.
Oh no, he was a natural cast, man.
Go on, Paddy.
No, I was just going to throw that. No, Army's, Hammer's, his whole family's a whack. He's a whack job. It was a perfect role for him. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah.
Well, but we'll get onto him in a second. But I mean, there's a couple of things you'll notice. That do you remember the scene where Armie Hammer's got the politician? Is it Judge Reinhold? His name is, which made me chuckle. He's got the politician in the car, and he's dosed on whatever, and for no reason at all, Armie Hammer does this game of chicken with a yellow car coming ahead of them. The yellow car swerves, and basically whoever's in the yellow car dies in the explosion. Right? There would have been a conversation on set like, is it a good idea to just kill an innocent man for no reason? They'd have been like, yeah, whatever. The scene where he's with the prostitute and he sees the mold on the wall. No one's taking this seriously, right? It's consciously making the point. This is not the next Hitchcock, Spielberg, whatever.
Yeah.
This is a laugh and a joke. However, when it got to the very end, and it's spoiler time, so if you're listening, switch off. Sorry to tell David to tell your listeners to switch off, but I'm about to give the spoiler. He pops the rapists at the end. Yep. And I'm like, they're not. Come on, he didn't actually do. Did I just see that? And then he turns to the sister of the rapist. And he's like, well, you're guilty as well because you stood there and you're justifying it. Pops her. He says to the guy, ring up all your mates who are involved in that gang rape. Bring them around. And he pops them all one by one.
Yeah.
And he does turn to the camera and he's like, this is a warning. And look, we don't want this to happen. We don't want a bloodbath. But it was making a really good point. If things don't change, this is going to get nasty. And Paddy's made the point. This is not the way forward. And I'm with you, Paddy. I 100% Paddy.
Yeah, we're not advocating for it. The other thing is, there's always been vigilante movies. You go back to 1965. John Wayne was in a really good Western called The Strangers, I think. And there's been other ones like
Charles Bronson.
Yeah. So it's not like we've never had vigilante movies. Like, that's the first thing. And the second thing is, but this one tackles. It's set in a.
Did you clock where it was set, David?
No.
Europe.
Yeah.
It just says Europe at the start.
Exactly. Well, that's what you're going to say, Antonio. Yeah, it's set in Europe.
Yeah, in general, I love that. It was just like Europe. Yep. And it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, but Paddy, the point is, in a way, it's a bit of a laugh because it could have been Paris, could have been London, it could have been anywhere. Do you know, Paddy? Yeah, it's like
I got a feeling through most of it that it was Great Britain. Great Britain.
Yeah. That's exactly the point. But I mean, I don't approve of vigilantism. But there's another story came out today which kind of reflects into this movie, Adrian, because look, there is a gang rapist, Pakistani gang rapist, who has been released from prison, having committed horrible crimes, and the government's turning around and saying, "Yeah, well, he did a lot of bad stuff, but hey, listen, we just can't deport him." So
where's Army Hammer when you need him?
Well, Grantonio, you make my point. Adrian, what's your thoughts on Citizen Vigilante?
So Arnie, the self-confessed cannonball, gets to play the hero, which I thought was quite ironic considering he was cancelled for those comments that he made. I watched the film. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's not going to win any Oscars because it's not showing cultures in a diverse light, shall we say. I enjoyed the sentiment of it, but it wasn't all just based against illegals and migrants.
No.
You know, it was about people who were dodging fares on buses, guys trying to date rape girls who were white men.
Correct.
You know, so let's get away from this, that it's promoting far-right extremism. It was tackling the breakdown of society in general, I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
You know, because I've seen people comment, it was all about the far right and promoting terrorism and hate against minorities, shall we say. Oh God, yeah. Something I think I would like to do, to be brutally honest.
The bus dodgers, the fare dodgers. I thought they got let off lightly. Do you remember when he bumped into them in the park?
But it's true, like society is decaying in so many ways now. You just look online and you see kids putting on videos of them ransacking stores, running in en masse and stealing and, you know, fighting and doing things. And yeah, I suppose we do need a Cape Crusader, don't we? Because things are just starting to fall apart.
Jed, just to bring you, I'm not sure if you've seen it or not. I know you've been otherwise occupied, but, you know, the essence of the movie is basically, like Adrian just said, this is a kind of latter-day Cape Crusader who brings justice. Some of it's brutal, but he brings justice. And, you know, Elon Musk there gave it a massive boost. So it'll never win an Oscar because obviously of the fact that the Hollywood community don't like this sort of stuff. But things like this make a connection, Jed. You know, everyone listening to this, everyone here in the studio, we've all seen some of the awful stuff that we get every week, you know, and nothing gets done. Nobody takes responsibility, Jed. And in this fictional movie, this guy stepped up and he did.
Not that I advocate violence, because I don't. So there's the caveat. Maybe we need something like this right now, because we're going to hell in a handcart. And you're right. no politician is bothered about it. They don't care.
No.
And I think part of it is they're never held responsible for what they do, whether they're in office or out of office. Not a single politician is ever held accountable. I mean, Luke Starmer on the way out the door is already lining up a job at NATO.
Which is a laugh. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. So what we actually do need, and what will change politics forever is accountability of politicians. You know, and people say, well, the media are there to keep them accountable. No, they're not. The media are there to go, oh, this is a left-wing point and we'll push that, and this is a right-wing point and we won't push that one. What we actually need is politicians literally held accountable for their actions and their words, literally. And therefore, there is no lying, there is no dodging the questions at PMQs, because that is now just a farce. And there is, you said this on your manifesto and you did not do that. And therefore, you need to be held accountable. You know, we got Burnham coming in who doesn't want to have, and appreciate you might go on to that topic, but
we definitely will, yeah.
He doesn't want a general election. Why? Well, he's just running with the Labour manifesto. The Labour manifesto isn't worth the paper it was printed on, because they haven't followed any of it. And, you know, we're in the manifesto that said it was going to raise all our taxes, etc., etc. So I think to stop this citizen vigilante as the title of the movie, I think what we have to have is our true and accurate representations of politicians being accountable, and our civil service being accountable. Because, as you know, I've gone on about civil service for many a year. And it's because they are not accountable to anyone. You can be the crappiest civil servant in the world. You will still get your annual pay rise, a performance pay rise. And if you're really that crap at your job, you'll just be moved sideways into another job, of which you'll still get your annual pay rise and your performance pay rise. So there is none of the
apparatus. It's the same with woke professors. Jed, it's the same with woke professors at university. They'll never get performance-based pay. Or, they'll have tenure and they'll never get sacked.
Yeah, their final salary pension. The one thing I really enjoyed about that film, though, was the fact that, yes, he did go for the dregs of society who were making life a misery, but it was the fact he went for a judge as well, who let the rapists off.
Yeah, he did.
An alcoholic judge.
Yeah, and we've seen we saw recently there that, look at how one of our judges behaved when 3 young lads gang raped a young girl.
Yeah, good
put
point.
It online.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that film hit a nerve on so many levels, and I think that's why it's been so popular and people have really taken to it, because there's so many situations, whether it be Sweden, whether it be France, the UK, US, so many incidents hit home. Yeah.
I mean,
just as David, go on, David.
I was going to say, Paddy. I mean, I know I made a comment. I made many comments online on Paddy. I can't remember saying something like "citizen vigilante, this is the way," and I think you came back at me and said, "No, it's not." And I literally, I mean, I wasn't for 1 second advocating, that kind of violence, but I am simply saying, listen, if to Jed's point, if politicians won't take responsibility and deal with stuff, ultimately, Paddy, I suggest what you're saying in the movie is kind of inevitable.
People are going to take it into their own hands. Sorry, Paddy.
Yeah, Paddy, over to you.
Well, I want to break this down into 2 pieces. First off, as for the movie, number one, it's a feel-good movie. It really is. It is a feel-good movie. I'm sorry, and I admit that. And it is It's horribly shot, horribly written, horribly acted, horribly directed. It promotes, it promotes something that should not be being promoted. Did I enjoy it? I laughed my ass off during the whole thing. And hold on one second. What?
I think Paddy's nailed it. It was so poor on so many levels, and it has such a crap budget. It's probably going to make millions and millions.
Oh, it's going to be around. This is going to be around for forever. This is a cult film that's going to exist forever, because it hits on the nerve of how so many people are feeling. And, but here's the other. Now I want to get on to the other side of this. We don't want this. We don't need Bernie Getz, because that's what this is. This is Bernie Getz on steroids. We do not need armed. No, I don't care how good intentions are and
Paddy, who's
justice
Bernie
they are.
Getz? Who's Bernie
What?
Getz? Sorry.
Bernie Getz was the subway vigilante.
I don't know this.
Oh, look him up. Look him up. He was somebody who went around on New York subway, riding around with a 38 or 357 in his pocket, and was shooting muggers left and right. He was doing the Charles Bronson movie.
Yeah, interesting, Paddy. Interesting.
And I'm surprised you guys haven't heard of him. Yeah,
No.
look him up. He's on the
Bernie
level
Getz.
of the hunt for him was on the level of Son of Sam.
He gets my vote.
But here's the thing. Right now, you look at and I'm sure this is the same in just about every society. Right now, like I said, we've got a lot of very experienced, very talented, highly violent men in walking around our society. We've been at war, and it's been a special forces war for 40 years, and it's supply and so does Great Britain. We've got qualified people that could do this and get in and do things do things much better than the quality that was seen in this movie. Do we want this? No. What we want is the letter of law be followed by everybody. And that starts with the friggin' politicians. What's going on right now in the United States? We've got billions of fraud that's being committed. Every one of these fraud cases is tied to a politician. Not one has been arrested. Then you turn around and you got the bureaucrats. Fauci. It's been proven that he engineered this virus. He paid for it to be engineered. He changed the threat assessments through the intelligence agencies, and he had and in the meantime, he also made millions off this drug, and he's not been prosecuted yet. Until we need the law to be applied to everybody equally. We have, I can't speak for your police force because I don't consider your police force a police force. It's like the safety hall kids that that with guns. But we've got people that can track down these crimes and lock these bastards up, and they won't let them do it.
No. Okay, we're gonna shift it on a wee bit because I wanna ask you all a very important question, and that is, has Andy Burnham given you hope in your heart? Because Andy came out, was it yesterday or the day before, when he was in his cab journey to London or wherever he was off to, and he was saying that when he becomes prime minister, his primary objectives is, and it's his words, economic growth in every postcode in the UK and hope in your heart. So who's got hope in their heart now that our Andy is going to be there's an interesting story there, actually, just bringing it up. Vigilantes take to the streets as grooming gang ringleader released. That just sums up what we're saying, guys. If the authorities won't look after us, rough men will step in. Anyway.
And not advocate mob violence. You're supporting the IRA.
Paddy, you don't need to tell me that. Yeah, I'm very aware of that. But I'm just saying that's been reported.
I know, David. I know you feel about this subject the same way I do. It's just a nerve.
Exactly. So, hope in your heart. Who's got Chad? If you could hope in your heart, has our Andy, King of the North? I mean, he speaks your language. He's a man of the North, Chad. Are you now inspired that he's going to have number 10 Coronation Street in Manchester? What's your thoughts?
The biggest thing that bugs me is this: Andy Burnham, King of the North. It just absolutely grinds.
It's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it really does. He's not the King of the North. This is the media hyping somebody up that they want to get in place. He's not the King of the North. He hasn't done a great job in Manchester.
No, he hasn't. No, I talked
about and that's the truth. He hasn't done a great job. He's just a gobby. I nearly said a gobby shite. I nearly said something else actually that began with an M and ended in mucker. But he's just gobby. The thing is, if Andy Burnham was that good, he wouldn't have left politics to become mayor. He then wouldn't have seen an opportunity to oppose Starmer, and if he was that good, then he would have found any by-election without somebody standing down and ran in it. He would have waited for a true and proper by-election to be run and he would have stood in it. But no, it's all been rigged. It is rigged from the start. It is rigged for him to take over. There's not going to be any other runners in this leadership contest at all.
No.
And it's going to be a coronation, and then he's in. And he will not let go of those reins for another 3 years. I'm telling you now. And he will change absolutely everything. I know everybody's putting pressure that if he does not follow the Labour Party manifesto, then he needs a general election. I think he needs one anyway, because it's not him. I appreciate we don't vote for prime ministers before somebody says we don't vote for prime ministers. I know we don't. But we do. We vote for the party and we vote for the party leader in casting our votes. You know, if you vote for reform, are you voting for the local guy down the street? Or are you voting really to get Farage in? You're voting to get Farage in. That's what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, Adrian, have you hope in your heart now that the King of the North is on his way?
No, I've got a pain in my arse and I've got a pain in my head just listening to the media. You honestly would think this man is the second coming of Christ, the way he's being portrayed.
Yeah.
You know, like, where do we start with him? Pardon me. He didn't even stand at the last election. There was underhand tactics to get him into the position he's in now, because Labour, there was nobody else that was deemed worthy enough within Labour to take on Keir and get rid of Keir. So they've had to parachute this guy in, which says a lot, because if he was a really good politician, he wouldn't have been mayor of Manchester in the first place. He would have been formidable as a shadow opponent before Labour get in to power before the last election.
Yeah.
But he was cast adrift in Manchester, so that should tell us all. Is he going to save the day? Is he bugger? He's going to make life even more miserable than what it was under Keir Starmer. And he will work in cahoots with Keir Starmer if Starmer goes to NATO. Let's not fool ourselves. You know, Starmer may be cast out of the Labour Party, but he will still cast a shadow and still will be able to pull strings on international policy within that party.
Although just on the Starmer becoming Secretary General of NATO, Paddy, just on this one, obviously Trump does.
I was going to say, Starmer has a chance to position with NATO while Trump is president? I think not.
I agree with you, Paddy.
But don't forget, this will be more ammunition for Trump to leave NATO, because he has been angling that way for the last couple of years. And don't forget, NATO didn't help with Iran and a couple of other things. So this
we are NATO, and now that what they just did with Iran just cut its own throat, and they don't realize the damage they did, not just with Trump, with the whole American people, both sides. It's just like, this is no. There's certain things we made pledges to you, you made pledges to us, and we don't.
But Paddy, I mean, the thing that amuses me about Starmer trying to bag this job at NATO is that the UK is the lowest contributing in percentage increase NATO country. We're bottom of the pile. He hasn't put, he talks big but puts no money on the table. As Andy Burnham's going to find out in next.
Well, you're going to put it in those new houses they're putting up for the immigrants. That village you're giving them. That's they got to buy things like that.
We'll talk about that, Paddy. But yeah, completely. Grantonio, have you hope in your heart?
No.
Well, give us the song then, if you have no hope.
When Adrian made the point about the song and dance about him as if he was the second coming, I don't know if you saw when he was on his way to London, the BBC had a helicopter. We were looking at helicopter footage of the train that Burnham was in on the way to Westminster, the helicopter. How much is that costing us? That stupid bit of... I know what a man...
£178 a year.
Well, yeah, actually, yeah, good point. Very good, very good. In terms of how bad Manchester is, I'm with Jed. I understand there's been a massive housing housing boom, a construction boom in Manchester with high rises everywhere. But we're going to find out about that very soon. That bubble is going to burst. And by the way, why is Manchester such an shit hole every time I go there? I'm so glad that I got out of Manchester. It's horrendous.
But are you not? But Grantonio, are you not excited? There's going to be number 10 North. Number 10.
Well,
North?
I mean that's interesting. Yeah, that he's going to make. We wanted to make. Well, what am I trying to say? He just wanted the centre of power to be Manchester. I mean, I don't care about that, to be completely honest. Manchester's a horrendous dump of a place. It really is. All these fancy buildings going everywhere don't mean anything. It's like Delta City in RoboCop, if you've ever seen that one.
Yeah.
Jed, go on.
Antonio, big questions being asked about all those expensive apartments that have gone up. And developers, and I listened carefully to the Reform candidate for the Greater Manchester mayoral competition, now because obviously there's a vacancy there, and she said she was very honest. She was saying that if Reform get in, they're gonna open up all the files because Labour's been there for 50 years of Labour rule, right?
Salford as well. Salford, I understand.
Salford, could you imagine what's been going on there then?
What about the rumours?
Go on, Adrian.
Sorry, I was just going to say, what about the rumours where his wife, who is in charge of the electric vehicle company, seems to have got a £5 million sweet deal?
Oh yeah. There's that. I was just about to say, a friend of mine was a councillor for. You might want to cover your ears. The Liberal Democrats, 20 odd years ago in Salford, and he told me, and it really opened my eyes. He said the amount of money that goes missing, and the fact that the local councils are in cahoots with, say, the Salford Advertiser, the local newspapers, means nobody knows anything about it. And this happens up and down the country. Money going missing. I mean, we could start talking about Scotland and money going missing on big projects. I suppose the big one in England is HS2, isn't it? But anyway, well, I'm sort of digressing. Do I have hope? Jed made this point in a roundabout way. It's not just one man. This is a team of people who have organised this, and I do wonder if up on high they've understood Starmer's not going to win the next election. Let's look at who we've got. Right, Burnham, a big team of people lent on this guy in Makerfield or wherever it was to step down. So that team Burnham, and I do wonder if it's quite a sinister bunch of people in the background that are making this move, because he's the only hope that they have, really. He's a likable guy, and that's a dangerous thing. Tony Blair was a likable guy, and he's destroyed this country. He's more likable than Starmer. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Go on.
And this is why I said, and Jed, you can, and then Paddy, come to you, that I argued that I really wanted Reform to win Makerfield, because I thought if we could stop Burnham, if we could defeat him, that would be good. And some people have said, no, it won't matter. It won't matter. They're all the same. It does matter. In the poll that came out today, the latest poll I've seen shows Labour have now jumped to a lead. I think they're 27% in the polls against Reform at 26 or 25 or whatever, Jed. So, it does matter, because Grantonio is right. Burnham is personable. He's in the way that Starmer was a robot, like an android. Burnham's like, I'm right northern, I'm likable, but he's totally dangerous. Just
very quickly.
Yeah,
very quick. Do you notice when he does interviews, there's always somebody walking past that he turns to and goes, "You're right, mate. You're right," and calls over to him in the distance. It really annoys me. That. Go on, carry on, Dave.
Yeah, Jed, just want to, and then Paddy, come to you. Jed, I do think that Burnham is dangerous, and he has opened up a poll lead now, it seems, over Reform, which I hate to see. Starmer couldn't do that, but he is able to do that. So what's your feeling on that, Jed, in terms of, Restore and Reform went at it, and Oak in Makerfield, and obviously Burnham would have won anyway, but all the same, I think you've said it before to me, Jed, if the right don't unite, we're beat.
You're right. If the right don't unite, we are beat. However, Burnham's not in power yet. So people have got to see, people in Manchester, are the only ones that have seen him in action. And to be honest, I think when the country sees him in action, they're going to go, we wish we had Starmer back. And I think then the polls will start to drop again. Because yes, he has what's the word I'm looking for? He's gone. He has a personality.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
But
he's got to get in power. And once he's in power, look at the wave that Starmer came in on. Look how quickly that faded.
Yeah,
and
because
I think it'll be the same with Burnham.
Yeah, and actually, just on that, I don't know if you saw, but Morgan McSweeney, who was the power behind Keir Starmer, he put out an interview today, which is really interesting, where he says that apparently, this is according to the guy who was the power behind him. Oh, hi, by the way, salty Republican rocker. Good to see you here, my friend. He said that we're going to talk about American things in a minute, salty Republican rocker. But hang on. He said that Labour didn't actually have a plan for government. They only had a plan to get into government. And they found out so quickly that within a couple of weeks of coming into government, and they were talking a bit negatively about how things were so tough because of 14 years of all that. Apparently, this McSweeney saying they just didn't really know how to govern. Quite remarkable.
That is remarkable. But Starmer made a huge misstep with Southport.
Correct.
And I understand, and this is quite true. It's literally 19 seconds he stands there, puts flowers down, and then uses that as an opportunity to berate people who are understandably upset about the way their nation's going because they don't know if their little girl's going to be stabbed at a Taylor Swift dance concert any second now. He used that as an opportunity of people who are angry, upset about that, to berate them and accuse them of being far right, and then went to all kinds of Muslim community centres, whatever that means, and told them that we would do anything in our power to protect you guys because we understand that you're worried. Not the families with children at Taylor Swift dance concert. So that was a huge misstep. Now, this is an important thing because Jed's made this point 1,000 times. There's going to be more. It's a mathematical inevitability. It's a statistically inevitability that there will be another Southport or Novak or whatever.
Yeah.
And Burnham might deal with it a hell of a lot better than Starmer. He might come out and say the right, in inverted commas, things. And I just think it's going to be an opportunity to just carry on with the madness, the legal immigration madness and illegal immigration policies that we've had for since the times of Blair. So be mindful that Burnham might be a much, personable, might deal with it in a much better way. And people might think, do you know, he understands our frustration. Sorry for getting that in, but I'm making a serious point. And people might tick that box during the next general election.
Well, Paddy, I mean, I remember when Obama came to power, he came to power promising, remember, hope and change. Remember all that nonsense from 2008? And, in a way, he was right. He did bring change, but it was the wrong sort of change. And it was hopeless.
But Obama was a groomed communist con man. It's like, what he was groomed from the time he was a child to do what he did. And he's still succeeding at creating severe chaos in this country. But what I wanted to, as an outsider, I'm sorry, it's not Andy Berman. It's Andy Harris. This is Kamala Harris. What they've done with Burnham is exactly what the Democrats wanted to do with Harris. They just picked them.
Balls, Paddy.
What?
One of them's got balls.
Yeah, the wrong one, right? Nah. But here's the thing. He's just been picked. Nobody has any say. They decided that's who it's going to be. They set him. They pulled him back into politics. They gave him the seat just for the specific reason of putting him in this job, and he's going to be the front man for all the other crap. Nothing's going to change. This is just like all the people that ran the presidency during the Biden era. It's all the behind the scenes people be calling the shots, and he is a likable face. He doesn't have Blair's intelligence. Not that Blair was bright in his own way, but not in a good way. But, I don't know. He is though. You're Angela Harris. He just, Kamala Harris. They just put him right in there, and that's it. He's our front man.
Did you see that he was actually? Did you see that, Adrian, that they called him Labour's first almost female prime minister? Did you
That's
see
it.
that?
So there you go.
They did say that, didn't they?
Is he half African American?
Mike,
I can't
Adrian,
wait
go
to see
ahead.
Trump treats him, to be honest. I can't wait to see. That'll be interesting because Burnham he's not a world diplomat. I don't think he would be good on the world stage, deep in a NATO meeting or a UN building. He doesn't come across as that powerful persona to be able to force his will in those kind of meetings. I think he would just bend over and buckle. Trump will eat him alive, to be honest.
There's a great guy on X I've seen does an Andy Burnham impersonation. Don't know if any of you have seen him, but I'll share it with the group here afterwards. But everything is about how normal he is. I'm just sitting up.
Russell Kane, the comedian.
Yeah, that's the one. Have you seen it, Adrian? He's really good at it. It's just like he's trying to be so normal. He's gonna have a cup of tea.
Well, years ago, there was a documentary, a thing that the BBC did about Ed Miliband, and you could count the amount of times his wife kept referring to him as normal. Well, he was very upset, and I suppose his response was, well, normal, really? It was just normal.
Yeah.
It's actually like Will Smith recently released a record called "I Like Pretty Girls, I Like Women, but he keeps saying it to the point that you're like, all right, well, okay.
Okay, whatever you say, well, we're okay, yeah, exactly. But anyway, so it'd be interesting to see how Burnham goes. I think the process is that he becomes leader of Labour on the 17th of July, which is a Friday, and then by convention, it will be the Monday he becomes Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, the 20th of July.
How long after he's coronated will the first terror attack take place?
Who knows? Well, see, it's summertime, Adrian. Summertime tends to be when, like, Southport happened.
And to my point, how will he deal with it? And are we all agreed he would deal with it in a much better way than Starnbot?
Yeah, probably. I think he might. What do you think, Adrian?
I don't know. I don't think he's a statesman in any shape or form. I really don't. I said that a few moments ago. That guy will cave on the world stage and people will run rings around him. But I just think there'll be something happens that to make him try and look that he is the competent, strong leader that everybody's making him out to be. I just have this funny feeling there's going to be something somewhere.
It's going to be fascinating, because of course Starmer's still there for another couple. We've got him for another couple of weeks. He did that speech. Did everyone get a good laugh at the fact he announced the strategic defense review, which for 15 billion? Then turns out, well, actually 5 billion of that's not funded, and then so it's only 10 billion really, and then the 10 billion itself that he's proposed, there's all kinds of cuts and things necessary to get to that. So he's basically shafted Burnham.
Did he get that? Did he get those figures from the new Treasury accountants that have been hired?
I have no idea.
You know the diverse ones that they had to scrap the numeracy test for?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, well, of course, you can't expect people, if you want to be a graduate working for the Treasury, Adrian, have a bit of common sense. You don't need mathematical skills. Presumably, just good vibes will do. Is that what it takes? Did you see that story, Jed, about the fact that, well, actually, it's a damning story because in 2019, the Treasury decided that it would not test graduates for numerical skills because of diversity reasons, right? And in 2022, once they abandoned the tests, they got more diverse people in the Treasury. And you know who was in charge of it at that point? Kemi Badenoch. Jed.
Why does it not surprise me? Because everybody in Whitehall, everybody in the civil service, everybody in government are infected with the warp mind virus. And it's great when you're now out of power and you can point the finger at the government of the day and say, oh, look what you're doing with DEI when you did exactly the same. But it's not just there at the Treasury. Why, can you, what does one-on-one make? Yeah. I always think of this as the Baldrick sketch, where Baldrick and Blackadder are there, and he says, "Okay, Baldrick, here's 2 beans, and if I add 2 more beans, what do I have?
Yeah.
And he keeps getting it wrong. And they said, okay, well, if I have 2 beans, I add 2 more beans and 2 more beans, what do I have? And he then says a small casserole. And the point I'm trying to get at there is that's what it's like. And because that's not just in the Treasury, it's in the police, it's in every institution that we've had. What they have done is dumbed down. You know, I'm quite shocked when I now see military pictures, for example, in my old regiment. And I see so many soldiers now with full beards. And you might think, well, a beard's a beard. But you weren't allowed to have a beard unless you were an assault in the infantry, unless you were an assault pioneer qualified individual. And that was the marker that you was an assault pioneer trained individual, that you were allowed and expected. In fact, you had to have a beard because it was part of the tradition that assault pioneers did that. Why? Because they had to look like civilians and go back, in theory, behind the lines and do their assault pioneering.
Yeah.
So
I know,
now
but
I see so many soldiers with full beards, and that I think shows the rot that we have. Clearly, you might say, "Well, it's just a beard, Jed. It's just a beard." No, it's not, because it's about your morning routine. It's about that, shit, shower, shave. Okay. Well, they're now just shit and showering, and they're not shaving. But to have a clean face is what you need when it comes to things like going to war and dealing with NBC and gas attacks and stuff. So the point I'm trying to get at is that every standard in every institution, whether it's the police, fire service, ambulance service, no matter what it is, every institution has lowered its standards to meet DII.
Did you see the midget policewoman, by the way, anyone? Did you see that? There was a video, I guess it was London or somewhere, and this sort of tall copper got out of the police van, and some female copper who look about 5 foot. Wait, what's the point in that? I mean, fighting midget crime.
Are they cutting the size of the police force?
Well,
Diversity.
Well, yeah, Paddy, but I remember to be a copper in the Metropolitan Police Force. I think you had to be, as a man, you had to be 6 foot. I think that's what it was. And I mean, I know they've got midgets.
Yeah, but like people with.
How far away is she then? How far away is she? I see Northern Monkey there. That's a line from Peter Kay. Yeah.
People is a good line. People with dwarfism aside, I mean, just you saw the way the women were beaten up in Manchester Airport.
Yeah.
Didn't stand a chance. And the other thing is about these diversities, these quotas. Well, you'll get women, but you'll also get weedy guys like me, joining the police force. I don't want a weedy guy like me coming to my rescue if I'm in, a spot above.
Yeah, well, Antonio, it's a bit like if you're in a fire, if you're in a tower block and your apartment's gone in fire, you want a sort of strong fireman to come up, lift you, and take you out to safety. Not some weak woman. Like we're not being sexist here. We're just dealing with reality.
I want a black lesbian with one leg.
I saw a video, and it was a black officer who clearly wasn't from this country, could barely string a sentence in coherent English, and had to have a police officer behind him telling the person who he was trying to arrest
why he was going to search him. Speak. Why he was going to search him. Yep.
Yeah, to let him speak. And it's like,
was that the new Doctor Who?
No, unfortunately, it was some black fella straight off the boat from somewhere, and he'd been.
Yeah, the new Doctor Who.
I don't watch Doctor Who, to be honest, so I'm missing that joke. But it was
you can't anymore.
That you had to have another policeman behind saying, "Let the man speak." A policeman should be able to enforce his authority when he approaches the scene. People need to be slightly afraid, slightly panicked, thinking, "Oh, I could be in trouble here," rather than standing taking the absolute nicky out of him and laughing at him when they're trying to arrest him. And I've made this comment before. If anybody served with distinction in our armed forces, pardon me, and as long as they have left with a good, clean record, they should automatically be considered for service in the police, the fire service, The
Yeah.
ambulance, the Coast Guard, depending on the skill set of, so if they're in the Navy, they can go into the Coast Guard. But if they've served in, say, the Marines, the Paras, whatever, they should then be given first choice to go into the police because they're fully trained and they're tough men who know how to handle themselves in certain situations rather than these woke DEI hires.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. Anyway, listen, 9 o'clock. We just want to move the topic on a wee bit, and this time we're going to jump across the pond because I wanted to Paddy. I was thinking about you the other day when the Supreme Court made a series of decisions. A couple of them were okay, but there was one of which was very bad, and you know which one I'm talking about, Paddy. And that was when the Supremes determined 6-3, I think it was, that birthright citizenship. Is immutable, and that if you're born in the States, you are an American. So on that basis, Paddy, if I'm born in a stable, I am a horse, right? And
Well,
I think 23% of newborns are born to illegals in the States, some figure like that I saw. What's your take on that decision, Paddy? And what does it mean for the United States?
well, here's the dual-edged sword of this ruling. Number one, doesn't change a damn thing. That's exactly how they've been treating illegal anybody even here illegally being born in the United States for the last 20, 30 years. If you're born in the United States, they automatically have been making you a citizen. What we tried to do is stop that. And the 14th Amendment was designed to give slaves
Correct.
their Americanhood. They stole that, and they took the one line out of it, said that you're born here, you're an American. That's it. They ignored the whole fact, all of history. They cut all that out, and they just reaffirmed that. So basically, what they did was just show us that the courts are as out of control as the politicians, and on every level. We have judicial activists that dude sitting in a district court of a town of 5,000 saying the president can't pass this ruling, and the Supreme Court just proved they're no damn better. And
Paddy, what do you think of the conservative justices on the Supreme Court?
the three that lost their mind.
Yeah.
Did you read? Because God bless them, because they spoke their mind. Thomas wrote an 89-page rebuttal.
Yep.
89 pages of him just going sideways, man.
Yeah.
So no, this is Roe versus Wade. This is the new Roe versus Wade. It's because here's the problem with this. It's because what they did is they affirmed that, okay, no, this is a constitution. See, what they said was Trump can't change this with his executive order because this is part of a constitutional amendment.
Correct.
So the only way that this can be changed is Congress has to write a law that changes it. Then it has to go out to every state in the country and be accepted by 2/3 of every state. So that's the only way you amend the Constitution. That's the only way this will ever be taken away now is through the amendment process. And so they codified it. That's all they did but nothing's really changed. This is what they've been doing for the last 20, 30 years. It makes deporting a little bit more difficult, but not if we get them when they ain't pregnant. If they don't, the families now that have had a kid here are going to be harder to deport. But everybody else is still going to go, and it wound up. Holman turned around and said, "Good, I just doubled my efforts. We just kicked the schedule up, in hyperdrive to get more people out."
Yeah, I actually listened to Ben Shapiro talk about this, and like everybody else, he was saying, it thinks a really bad decision by the Supreme Court. But he also made the valid point that, okay, so you're not going to change that particular constitutional fact. But on the other hand, the executive branch can make sure that these illegals don't get access to welfare benefits, that they don't get access to healthcare, they don't get access. You can tighten up on those things as well as deport more, Paddy. So there's other ways around it.
Well, the problem is a lot of this stuff has to be done through Congress. And Congress right now we're praying to God that Democrats don't get in control in November because then it's a nightmare. But what happens? There's a lot of things that we've done. Also, too, We can turn off screw you. The executive could. We've done it before in this country.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
we're not
yep.
allowing a single immigrant for 50 years. We got to have an adjustment period and shut it all down. No visas, no legal immigration, no illegal immigration. Sorry, get out, or you can't come in. Period. And right now, the big thing is they're putting in place blockages for pregnancy tourism, especially from China.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's bad. Yeah, and actually, Paddy, they did back. I think it was the 1960s or 70s. They stopped all immigration from China on the west coast because it
Yeah,
was so.
what do you call it? It's
Done
not just
before.
China. They've shut it down completely. People forget Eisenhower grabbed every school bus in the country and deported millions of Mexicans back over the border, just dumped them.
Yeah. So,
It's like this is not like this is a new issue for us,
no.
and everything. So this is just another standard. But but to change now with the birth thing, that has to be changed by the amendment process, which means that's probably never good. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. But
Yeah, I just want to bring Adrian in. Adrian, Paddy's right there in saying that it was a really bad decision by the Supreme Court, and it's one of those instances where you know that Trump was trying to do the right thing, definitely do the right thing, but it's so frustrating when you have the Republican Party and these Republican appointed justices, doing the wrong thing by the country.
Horrendous decision, absolutely. And it means anybody can now go be born there and then leave, go away, be raised somewhere else with a totally different set of values, and then be parachuted back in, and can then, so for example, a Chinese person could go give birth and then go take the baby back to China, have them raised up in a communist regime
Yep.
for 25 years, and then go back.
40,000 already exist that we know of in China that have done that.
But then would be eligible to run for president because they were born in the USA.
Correct.
That's a key thing.
But is that not a bit like Mamdani? I mean, Mamdani was born in Uganda, and could he not run for?
Well, Obama was born in Kenya, so I suppose why not? Again, the wider ramifications for this are horrendous, and yeah, I thought that was a really, really poor decision. But it shows the battle that Trump's up against when he's trying to.
It does.
We give him stick about certain things and decisions that he's made, but there are things that he is trying to do to benefit that country. But he's like the man pushing the boulder up the hill.
Yeah. Oh, you're right, Adrian. I mean, okay, you can disagree with Trump on the odd thing, which I do with Iran, but on just about everything else, I mean, Antonio, I think Trump is doing like a Herculean task. And I've got to say that, when things like this come along from the Supreme Court, and it does screw things up. It definitely does, no matter how you look at it.
And David, don't fret. Iran is still going to be fixed. It's just that nobody's schedule but Trump's schedule. But it is happening. Slow motion and very painful, but just give it time.
Can we have that in writing, Paddy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll give it to you in blood.
Definitely going to happen. Yeah, I hope you're right, Paddy. But Grantonio, don't you think that, like, Trump does a lot of good stuff, and on this one he was trying to do the right stuff. He was trying to get rid of these friggin' anchor babies, and he can't.
Well, that was the phrase I was going to use, anchor baby. I just wonder, in issues like this, when children are concerned, it becomes so emotive, and politicians on sort of our side of the argument need to be careful not to offend people on that side of.
Can I just interrupt real quick with this?
Yeah, go for it, Paddy.
The anchor baby. They finally found a fetus that the Democrats don't want to abort.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, actually, just as a bit of an aside about that, it's something I've always thought. Friends of mine who have had miscarriages, and for me, that's a tragedy. But then when they tell you not to get upset about abortions, I'm like, well, what's the distinction there? it's still just as upsetting. It's just
Right.
one's not via choice and the other is. Anyway,
One's a murder and one's an act of God.
just as an aside, but I thought that the left were telling me that Trump had stacked the Supreme Court. Am I wrong about that? I thought there was a majority of Republicans in there, and I don't know enough about this situation. But Paddy, you said something about how they are applying a certain logic to this decision. I don't know if you use the word logic, and please forgive me. But what can they do to reverse this? Have they got to get a certain number of people?
Right now, it can no longer it can no longer be reversed. This can no longer be. The only way this is reversed is actually making a new amendment to reverse it. They've codified it as part of the Constitution. And the problem is every time we elect, we think we get a real good conservative judge and put him on the court. They turn around, all of a sudden they're a closet liberal. This has happened throughout the last since Nixon. This has been going on forever. But right now. Like they said, they call this a conservative court. Roberts is not led this as a conservative court, and Barrett is the biggest disappointment of all. Here's a nice Catholic woman turned around and shoved her head up her rear end and decided to give in to the to the press.
But Trump appointed her, Paddy. Trump's responsible.
I know. This is one of our. I rooted for this woman. I thought this was a perfect pick.
Who's responsible for the motion in the first place? Who's brought this forward?
Oh, it starts in states. Then it has to win, lose, has to be appealed all the way up, so and then the Supreme Court only picks the cases they want to address, because they just pick, they got about 1,000 cases put before them. They pick about 100 out of that 1,000 cases that they'll actually look at.
In the UK, and I'm sure you know this, Paddy, so forgive me if I sound patronising. We have something very similar. It's a private members bill. Are you aware of that? Some of the most important legislation.
Yeah, I'm aware of that, but I guarantee you no other American is.
Yeah, some of the most important, significant legislation that's been put through in British politics in the past 60 odd years have been through private members bills, through people who it's like a lottery.
But actually, Grantonio, the private members' bills are quite evil as well. Because
the Abortion Act.
The Abortion Act, the Assisted Dying Act,
yes,
they desperately tried to get through, and which you're going to bring back in the next term of Parliament. So yeah, it's very much a mixed bag. Jed, have you any thoughts on this business of Trump tried to stop essentially anchor babies, and the Supreme Court have said, nah, you can't?
I think it's testament to how our laws have been subverted. At least in the US, all right, we've had 1,000 years of democracy, and the US have had 250 years. The ink's still wet on their constitution, and I think that's why it's constantly being amended as it is, and twisted and turned.
There are only 25 amendments. It is not built so that you figure that's one amendment if you divide it out every 10 years.
Right. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's being watered down constantly, rather than being upheld to the original founders' intentions. It's being watered down consistently, just like our laws have been watered down consistently.
Actually,
well, that's what the war. That's what the war really is, and divide in the country is between transactional. What I forget what the term of law is. The law that have gone through the courts, and original intent. The original intent crowd, which is the solid third and the full real base of the Republican Party, are constitutionalists. It's you go with the original intent, what they talked about, the papers and everything, covers everything we need. Then there's case. The other side is all case law. No, we won this one, case law. We had a judge who said, and they want to go by case law. And that's the fight that's been going on and is getting worse and worse.
Yeah, Paddy, quick one for you, because this also has shocked me, really. I wonder what others think of this as well. The Democratic Socialist Party of America seems to be pretty much ascendant now. Some amazing results in New York, where a bunch of commies basically have got themselves elected into Congress. And it's happening in other parts of the states as well. And Do you think, Paddy, come to you first because obviously your backyard, or is that sort of Bernie Sanders, Zoran Mandani, that they're Islamo commies?
Islamofascists. The
Ridiculous,
Islamists. The
Paddy.
Islamists are a hybrid between communism and Islamism, and it's a hybrid thing. But if you look at what they're following the exact model that Lenin followed.
Correct. It is. Yeah. They don't have to win everything. They just have to win sufficient percentage to get the power party. But they're winning it. Like what worries me is 2028 is going to, it's going to be fundamentally these kind of Islamo commies versus what's left of MAGA, I suppose.
You're only going to win majority spot. Like New York is lost, New Jersey is lost, Maryland is lost, Pennsylvania teeter-totters, but Pennsylvania's got too many of those 700 million guns in it to ever be lost. The state still is that leads to sales since they've in firearms since they've kept records. So that's their real problem here. But it is still way too thin through the rest of the country. Like I said, only 15% of the population participate in the political system. And and the thing is, when things will reach a point, and everybody will be like, "No, F you," and it will be peacefully changed.
Do you think that wasn't what happened with Lenin, though? It wasn't peacefully changed, Paddy.
We're not Bolsheviks
Yet. Adrian, what are you make of the success of the democratic socialists in America?
I'm not surprised, because look at how the young ones are being brainwashed from such a young age at school. Look at the way these teachers are getting on and grooming them, thinking that socialism is the way forward. We're of a generation where we can remember back to the sort of Cold War era. I actually, I'm fortunate enough to have worked with a couple of ladies from Eastern Europe who grew up in that era, and they were telling me how bad it actually was, rather than just the images we would have saw on the news and things we read in books. But young kids now are believing that rich people are the cause for all ills in the world, and it's not. The real problem in this world are bloody politicians.
Yeah, but those young people in the States that are voting for the Democratic Socialists, they're the same ones in the UK that are voting for, the Greens or maybe Labour or.
Because unfortunately they've been warped from a young age. Remember, we give our kids away, every day into a school system from the age of 5 till they're 18. And those teachers are telling them all sorts. Remember, teachers are now, you don't have to tell your parents if you want to change your sex. We'll help you do it without your parents knowing. So a lot of this is down to the education system that's been implemented and the people that we are entrusting our kids to, because from a very young age, their minds are being warped.
By teachers.
Yes, very much so, yeah. University lecturers.
Yep. Teachers who got a 6.5% pay increase just to start their summer holidays.
Look at those kids who leave home at 18 to go to university, straight A students, never been in trouble in their lives, and then all of a sudden you see them a year later and they're covered in tattoos, piercings, they want to drop out of uni, I know, Adrian,
it's horrific.
You've seen some of the images and the examples I'm talking about.
Yeah. Well, as I say, things fascinate me, Paddy, your side, because ultimately I do think, you're our final hope, even though I will say the odd critical things, but by and large, and obviously I mean by that, like MAGA in particular and Trump, that's the West's last stand, I think.
It's going to get ugly here over the next 6-8 years, but I have faith, and I believe you guys should have faith too, that it is going to balance out and not in the direction you're going in.
Well, I'll tell you something that gave me a lot of faith and a lot of hope, put hope in my heart. I saw the Prime Minister in the UK today brought out emergency legislation. Yes, emergency legislation, Jed. And some people said, no, we can't do that, but he can't do that. And I know you're thinking, he brought it out. Was this to do with the rape gangs? The grooming gangs, the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs? No, it was to make sure that the pubs, Jed, can actually stay open on Sunday night, Monday morning, when England play Mexico in the World Cup. So we can bring out emergency legislation when we want, Jed. It's just the topic for the emergency legislation that makes me wonder a bit. You can do it for that, but you can't do it for little girls getting raped. Do you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What suits fits, doesn't it? You can't bring it out to get the leader of a rape gang deported.
Deported, yeah.
But you can do it to change. And this is the problem with politics.
Yeah.
It really is. When they want to change something, look how quickly things were changed over Southport, and how legislation was rushed through to get the courts open 24/7, etc. To do those so-called far right people. They can do it when they want to. So if they can do that, why are we then spending months and sometimes years trying to get a piece of legislation through Parliament when it can be done as a... So what we really need is a system a bit like the US, where the leader of the country, in this case, unfortunately, is Starmer, can do executive orders. Now, that can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. But if every leader or every PM could do that, then you can always undo what the previous one had done, if you see what I mean. And I think that's where the American system works well. You can vote for Trump, and Trump can get in on day one and rewrite the legislation.
You understand?
We don't have that. Yet they can. You're absolutely right. They can do it. So you go, oh, Luke, I'll give you an extra till 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. to go and get your booze, right? Because England's playing. It's bullshit.
You understand why he's doing this now?
Tell us.
Because this is the last game England's going to have. Mexico's going to spank them and knock them out. So there's no other chance.
Yeah, well, there is that aspect to it as well. Grantonio, I mean, what's your thoughts about the fact that...
Also, the last positive thing he can do for his legacy, Adrian, he's going to be out of power in 10 minutes' time. So, yeah.
But what do you mean his legacy, Grantonio? He doesn't have any legacy.
Good point.
This guy, he's legacy free. He thinks he
does. No, wait, he has a legacy.
Terrible one.
He has a major legacy. He destroyed the relationship between England and the United States.
True.
That's going to be on his gravestone, isn't it? Sir Keir Starmer, the man who kept the pubs open that one Sunday when England were playing. We'll all remember him for that. We'll all remember him. No, when England play, I become very, very patriotic. I become very Scottish when England start playing. So I can't comment on that. But
Grantonio, were you gutted when no Scotland, no party were unfortunately booted out?
No, right, I'm going to be honest. I was in bed. So there you go. What was the question about Sir Keir Starmer? Is he still here? Is he still Prime Minister?
No. My question was that they can introduce emergency legislation to get a bloody pub open, but they can't do it. That's it. Do you know?
Yeah,
that's the outrage.
They can't stop the boats. But
can't stop the boats.
Yeah.
That is exactly the problem, isn't it, Adrian? When it suits them, they can do it, but it doesn't suit them to deal with rape gangs or the boats or any of the rest of it, Adrian. It doesn't suit.
No, it doesn't, and they don't want to. This is why they won't. It's funny. You can't buy a pint after midnight or 1 o'clock, but yet drugs are on tap 24/7 these days for people.
Yeah.
Where are your priorities here? Bread and circuses, keep them fed and entertained, and you'll stop them revolting. So let people have that thrill of being able to sit and drink all night legally to 5 a.m, a one-off thing, and it makes the people think, they'll remember back, do you remember the pub was open and we were there to 5 a.m? And people will forget the mundane crap that's going on around them because they have this one-off,
little treat. This is why the Romans, had the Colosseum and they put on the shows there. Bread and circuses. It's always been the way that you control the masses. You divert them. If I look at
but weren't you talking about the monarchy being a binding force at the start of this?
Yeah.
And then people look to football. If that's what it takes for the nation to come together, a bunch of unlikable, overpaid actors kicking a ball, and we're screwed. We're screwed.
But go back to COVID. What happened? Oh, you can't go out, you can't do this, you can't do that. But within 3 months, they had football on to stop people revolting. We'll keep them entertained.
With empty grounds, though, do you remember that? It was such a freakish thing. That stadium were empty, but the players were playing to an empty crowd.
Didn't they put up like they did over here in the United States for a while? There, they put cardboard people in the stands.
I tell you, Paddy, they boosted sound. They pretended that the stadium was full, and there's nobody there.
That's where the Iranians got the idea from, Paddy.
There you go. COVID carryover.
No, but you understand what I mean? People were locked at home, and they knew people would start to get cabin fever from being locked inside for so long. So what did they do? Let's get sport back on the TV. That'll give them something to watch. It'll keep them entertained.
Yeah. Such has it always been. Listen, we've reached the witching hour, my friends. It's 21:30. Just before we go, I wanted to just reflect something to put there in the chat, and that is, I'm conscious today is the 2nd of July, and obviously Saturday is the 4th of July, which is, of course, our American friends' 250th anniversary. Personally, I'm old enough to remember your 200th when I was a much younger child, basically, and
it was my 8th grade graduating class.
I remember. I mean, obviously I'm not American, but I remember I was delighted by it, basically, and I'm still delighted that you've got your 250th, and hopefully there'll be more to come. But I wanted to wish all those people who follow me, and I am conscious of the fact that a big chunk of my market and my audience is Americans. I want to wish you a 250th, and hopefully you'll have sobered up by the time we all return to this place at the appointed hour next week. So all that remains for me to do tonight is to thank everyone in the studio here, to Jed, Adrian, Paddy, Antonio. Thank you all for being, as you said, we're back on the road now with this show. And thanks everyone who's listening to it. Appreciate that as well. Thanks for tuning in. And we will return same time next week. But from all of us to all of you, good night.